Hey, the U.S. Postal Service has their union has endorsed Joe Biden, and we have a litany of folks on the left who are using the coronavirus to say, "Oh, we have to do universal mail-in voting," and we have seen across the board in almost every state horrible, horrible incidents already of confusion with mail-in voting. We've seen bags of mail tossed in the garbage. We've seen military ballots go out and say absentee military ballot. We're having problems everywhere. And we got to weigh in on even a little more right now as we're joined by Kieran Lalor. He's a New York State Assemblyman here, right in the Empire State. And Kieran, apparently, we're looking at somewhere around 100,000 ballots found to be tampered with here. What the heck is happening?
Yeah, 100,000 New Yorkers, originally thought to be just in the borough of Brooklyn, they got the wrong absentee ballots. They got absentee ballots with other people's names, other people's addresses. Then we realized a couple of days later that it spread to Nassau County on Long Island. So you have two of the largest counties in the state, two of the largest counties in the world, in the country, and huge numbers of people in the six figures are getting the wrong ballots. It creates a couple of problems. Number one, what happens if they send back the wrong ballot with the wrong name on it? Does it count? They have been sent another ballot, supposedly a corrected ballot. What happens if they send back both ballots and they vote twice, one with the correct ballot, one with the incorrect ballot? We've opened up this can of worms. The ideal for voting is to go into your local polling place and to vote. We understand there are situations because of people's work or their health or their way at college where they have to vote absentee. But if that group of people voting absentee by mail is too big that it overwhelms the system, which is what we're seeing already in New York State and around the country, you really lose the ability to control the integrity of the election. And once we don't have the integrity of our elections, are we even still a democracy?
Yeah, it's pretty scary. And, God bless you for your service helping the communities here in New York. And one of the things that's lost on many Americans who don't get into the little granular bits of politics like guys like us do is that absentee ballot is a common occurrence. It happens in every state. All you have to do is ask for one. Hey, I'm going to be on vacation. I may miss election day. I want one. Hey, my mom is, she's not ambulatory. She can't move. She needs one. She's going to be sick. I can't get there that day. It's a common occurrence. So, to me, it's kind of like a smokescreen. And I think most people, they want to, it's kind of like a ritual, right? Like, it's election day. Let's make a thing of it. Let's go down to the polls. Then we'll go to the diner and have a little, go to the diner and then we'll go vote. And, I made it a case myself from when my kids were very young to take them with me when I went to vote. And I used to take them in the thing and show them and say, here's what you do. When you grow up, you're going to vote. It's one of the things we have a freedom to do in America. And I think like most people, they want to just go to the poll and cast their vote because no one trusts, the checks in the mail is an old saying, like when somebody's trying to blow you off. Yeah, the checks in the mail. And when you find 100,000 ballots in, one of the biggest counties in the world, that's a lead-in to know that this thing is going to get hairy. Could this affect the whole election in your view?
It definitely could. You look at just those 100,000 in Brooklyn and Nassau County. There's big races in those areas. The state Senate in New York State, which would give us some checks and balances if Republicans were to regain the majority that they had just 2 years ago. There's 3, 4, 5 winnable Senate seats for Republicans in Nassau and Brooklyn. So that's a big difference there. There's a U.S. House seat that's one of the number one pickup opportunities for Republicans looking to take back the U.S. House of Representatives that covers Staten Island and Brooklyn. Max Rose is the incumbent. He's running against Nicole Malliotakis.
We're coming for that one. We are
I'm sure
coming for that one, Kieran. I can tell you, Nicole is laying the wood on this guy. I call him Mini Maxie. But, he's a liar, the guy. He's been here in our district for just 2 years. He wrote an op-ed in our local paper saying that he's not for impeachment. Then he went down to Washington. Nancy Pelosi tugged on his leash and he hopped right in her lap and she started petting him on the head and he voted for impeachment. He lied to us in our community. He ran as, hey, I'm a military guy. I'm not a political guy. I'm going to fight the system. And it turns out that he was just another Nancy Pelosi lapdog. I think Nicole's going to win that race big. Staten Island's big Trump country.
But she has that Bay Ridge portion of the district, which is going to be impacted by this absentee voting mess. So I think you're right. She's my colleague. She's a great candidate. But when the Democrats are losing, they look to these external means, ballot harvesting, and all these other things to try to win elections. And that is my concern overall. Not only a House race, but control of the House of Representatives, control of the state Senate could flip on some of these sloppy Board of Elections problems.
Well, look, here in New York City, we have probably the worst commissioner of all time that I've ever seen in Mike Ryan, who runs the Board of Elections. He's terrible. He was actually caught getting paid off by the company who makes the computerized voting machines. Wow. Steve Richmond, the biggest enemy of democracy I have ever seen, the general counsel to the New York City Board of Elections, he's on a leave of absence. So that place is like a rudderless ship right now. So anything could happen there. But I do want to tell you, although he's on the other side of the island, I'm a big fan of Mike Cusick, great friend of mine. He's a logical, reasonable Democrat. He's a guy I think who can work across the aisle. And I would love to see the Senate take him back to the Republicans so my buddy Andrew Lanza would be back up in the senior leadership, because Andrew Lanza and Mike Cusick, even though they're on the other sides of the aisle, they're New York guys with common sense. And we need more guys like that in leadership roles, because New York is going in the wrong direction. Thank God for you and Andrew and Nicole in the Assembly. But we got to clean up this election. We take back the Senate. That kind of puts New York at least in a place where we're not just one party rule from the state all the way down to New York City.
Checks and balances benefits everybody, whether you're a Republican or Democrat. You get a better product in terms of legislation, in terms of budget, if there's two sides in the room trying to reach a deal rather than one side gets everything they want. You need those checks and balances.
So is there anything being done, at the state level for, guidelines, any research, any oversight for all this craziness going on with the mail-in ballots, or it's just going to be a free-for-all in your view?
I think it's going to be a free-for-all. There's no plan to go back into session before the elections. In this term, the 2019-2020 term, we, even though most Republicans voted against it, we expanded mail-in voting. We expanded absentee voting. You don't need an excuse anymore. So this is not an accident. This was created. This is by design. You saw what happened in June in the Caroline Maloney congressional district. In fact, it came up in the Trump versus Biden debate the other day. About 100,000 people voted in that primary. 12,000 of those votes were invalidated, mail-in votes. 12,000 of them out of 100,000 were invalidated because they didn't have a postmark, they didn't have a date, and these other things. That's all Democrats. That's Democrats being disenfranchised by policies put in place by other Democrats. Pretty incredible.
Yeah, I have to say, when they were doing the final vote counting in that Queens DA race between Melinda Katz and the George Soros AOC candidate, right. Some shady counting going on over there, but I think that actually worked in our favor, getting Melinda Katz in there over that leftist they were trying to put in. So, but I think you're right. I think it's going to be a free-for-all, and I think the New York State Republicans, both in the Senate and the Assembly, all the way down to Nicole, we got to be prepared with all the legal firepower we got to go out there and make sure this is a fair election.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Kieran Lalor, thank you so much, brother. Thank you for your work. And I didn't mention it, but prayers and condolences to the Bruno family, because Joe Bruno was a great servant to the state of New York. So keep up the good work, brother, and please join us again anytime.
Anytime, buddy. Thanks again.
Thank you, man. Okay, we're going to take a quick break right here. I'm going to kick you through hour 2 with some news of the day. And then Joe Theismann's going to be here. We're going to talk about NFL, COVID, Black Lives Matter, and if he's now in the Hall of Fame on the Washington Redskins or the Washington Football Club. Joe Theismann will break that all down and more right after this.